Greetings, confirmation students. Glad you could join me for a quick trip with one of our lessons this year in our confirmation class, and that's around Abraham and Sarah. Now, these two figures loom large in our whole understanding of God and God's plan for the world. Back in their day, Abraham was living in the land of Ur, modern-day Iraq, when God called to him to leave that land. He would make a great nation of him, but he had to leave that land, travel quite a distance, 600 some miles, tough travel over rocky, deserty areas, and end up in what we call the land of Palestine or Israel today. So Abraham hears God's call, takes his wife Sarah, and they travel, and they end up in this land of Israel. And what we so appreciate about the story of Abraham that shapes this beginning of God's people that become the Hebrew people, later the Jewish people, and finally we Christians come from, is that he trusted God. In Genesis 15:6, it said, Abraham believed God, and it was reckoned to him as righteousness. It was accounted to him that he was righteous because he simply trusted God's promise. And we see this pattern in Abraham where God's given him this promise, and that God's going to have to see it through. Well, maybe as easy and straightforward as that sounds at first, it didn't work out that way. When Abraham first gets to the land, there's a drought. In fact, this drought's so bad he has to leave the land and go to Egypt to find food. So he's been promised this land and he has to leave right away. And yet, God brings him back. And the rest of Abraham's life has a number of things just like that, where they're getting old, very old. And they can't have kids. It's too late for normal humans to have kids, but God says, no, you're going to have a kid. And even Sarah laughs at that one. Another time, God says, Abraham, sacrifice your son Isaac. And it looks like the promise, after they finally do have a kid, is going to come to an end. But then God provides a goat and a way out. God kept coming through for Abraham. The promises of God kept coming through, and Abraham trusted God. And that's why we see such a great figure as this person of Abraham. He walked with God in faith, even though the road was twisted, even though it was a really troubled and difficult road at times. Well, we're like that with Jesus and the promises we get through him. That he's made these huge promises, and that we don't always know how they're going to work out. Sometimes they feel like they're at a threat or lost. But God calls us to trust those promises. So you should have a link with this that has a list of these promises, some possible promises, I should say, that you can look at and see, is that a promise from God or not for me? It's so important to know that there are promises of God for you. And the world kind of hoists some ones out there that aren't really true promises from God. So what I want to do is test you a little bit. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Thumbs up, this is a promise from God. Thumbs down, it's not. Now I'm going to go through this list and I want you to do thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, so the first one on my list is this. If I pray with faith, I will have things go my way financially. Thumbs up, thumbs down. You got it? Good. I'm going to go to the next one. I'll talk about them later. Even if I physically die, I will be given life with God in the Spirit. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Got it? Okay, next one. I will not have many bad things happen to me as a child of God. Thumbs up, thumbs down. God will show me something worth living for. Thumbs up, thumbs down. God will lead me by his Spirit through very difficult times. Thumbs up. Is it true? Or thumbs down? Maybe not. Even though I blow it or make big mistakes, I will still be God's child. That true? Thumbs up. Thumbs down. Finally, even if I fail, God will never fail me. Thumbs up. Thumbs down. All right, well, I hope you have your choices made on those. I want to talk about them a little bit. The first one, even if I pray with faith, I will have things go my way, financially or in relationships or whatever else. It's not true. We don't get everything we want in this world. Never have. Jesus certainly did. Abraham certainly didn't. So it just isn't true. With faith, God is trusting in God's promises that are for us, certainly, but not everything goes our way. It's just not the way it is. Though we physically die, we'll spiritually live. That comes right out of John's Gospel, and certainly a promise Jesus has for us, that God will always have us even after our death. I will not have bad things happen to me as a child of God. Because we're God's children, somehow we'll be shielded from bad things that might happen to other people, like getting sick, or going broke, or having an accident. No, it doesn't work that way. All those things can happen to you as a child of God. There is no promise you will be spared. God will show me something worth living my life for. I certainly believe that one. There are things that God has you to do and give your life for. You can trust that promise. Big thumbs up. God will lead me through difficult times. That's what God promises us. Not that we won't have them, but that God, by His Spirit, will lead us through difficult times. Big thumbs up. And I imagine some of you have already experienced some of that. We are in some difficult times. Even though I blow it or make big mistakes, I will still be God's child. Absolutely. That's about forgiveness, isn't it? Big thumbs up to forgiveness. That God gives us a new start. Says, I'm not holding this against you. Tomorrow's a new day. Get up and try again. Even if I fail, God will never fail me. In a similar line of things. That's one of my favorite things. That God will never fail us, but always be there with us in the troubled times, in the good times. So my hope for you today is you, like Abraham and Sarah, find your way to trust God. God's promises in particular for you in this world. Well, thanks for listening in, and I hope you remember you are descendants of Abraham. That's what we say, or children of Abraham and Sarah, and that you walk in the faith as they walked in faith. Thanks for joining me. Bye.